Did you know Neu-Ulm before?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. So it's the first time at the IBK, of course.
Yeah,
it's your first time in Neu-Ulm.
I've been to Germany quite a few times playing, but never to this area. So it's a first for me. Yeah.
But where have you been in Germany before?
Frankfurt, Munich, Hamburg, but never here.
Do you like it?
I do. I only arrived a couple of hours ago, so I haven't had a chance to see. But it's a lovely venue for a festival. Looks to be a picturesque kind of place, and I'm looking forward to having a walk around later.
Do you have kind of these festivals in Great Britain as well?
Not. We do have festivals. We have lots of music festivals actually, but nothing that combines performance with publishing, composing. This seems to do everything. It has conductors, composers, soloists, bands. It's an all-encompassing event. There are similar events, the Midwest Clinic in the US, on a much bigger scale.
Yes.
But I think this is a real exciting, innovative venture for not just Germany, but for Europe.
What is so fascinating in wind music, in playing an instrument? What is so fascinating about it?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's a bit of a family tradition. My grandfather was a euphonium player, and he taught his two sons, my father and my uncle, the euphonium, and they toured all over the world as a duet. So as I was growing up as a young boy, I always saw them play and listened to them play. So it was a natural progression for me to play the euphonium. The home of the euphonium really is in the brass band, but it does have a place also in the wind orchestra and sometimes in the symphony orchestra, depending what repertoire you're playing. But my fascination with the instrument and with music came from my family.
So was it clear to become a euphonium player and a musician because your father and your uncle?
When I was at high school, you know that time where you begin to realise what you're good at and what you're not so good at. There's always someone that's good at maths, or someone that's good at drawing, or someone that's good at sport, and it seemed that music was my thing, and so I worked hard at it, and you get better, and I realised I wanted to be a musician. So I went to music college, did a degree, and then did a master's degree, and I've not looked back, really. Music's been my life ever since.
But you didn't get any pressure from your father, for example, over you have to?
No, most people assume that. It was actually the opposite. He used it the other way. He knew that I loved music, so if I was ever a naughty boy or misbehaved, he'd stop me playing music. It was never a case of you must practice or you must play, and I think that's largely why I enjoy it so much. I always associated it with having fun, as something that you did as a reward rather than something that was hard work to do.
At what point did it become clear that you will be a professional musician?
In the year 2000, I was really fortunate to progress through the BBC Young Musician of the Year, which is a televised classical music competition. And I won the brass final, and then I had the opportunity to play with the symphony orchestra, the BBC Philharmonic, on live television, a full concerto. And that opened many doors for me. And I guess at that stage, there was nothing to say that it would definitely happen, but I decided that now's the chance to really try and become a professional euphonium player, and that was 18 years ago, and so it's worked out okay.
Did you have other plans before?
Yeah, I couldn't decide really when I was at school whether I was going to keep music as my hobby, or whether I was going to go into something else. And had I gone into something else, I was very interested in design, graphic design, graphic art, architecture, that kind of thing. So it was a decision, but I think I made the right one.
Okay. On the internet I read a quote, you are a legend in the brass band scene.
I don't know about that.
What would you think about this? What do you think about this quote? Is it a legend?
I think you've
or
got.
Is it just a name? What is a legend in the scene? the name Childs?
My name is certainly, the child's name is a big name in the brass band movement. My father and my uncle have achieved far more than I have, and they have conducted the best bands for a long time. They've played with the best bands for 30, 40 years. So I maybe the child's name is legendary, and I'd like to think that people have a good opinion of what I'm doing now, but I think legend should be reserved for people a little older than me.
Okay. Was it easier to have this name, Childs, or was it harder to make this career?
It's a good question. The assumption is that it's easier, that it opens doors, and of course, to an extent, that is true. But there also comes a great pressure with it, because before people hear you play, I remember when I was a kid, 16, 17 years old, people expect you to be good just because of your name, and that, living up to that, you could either really use that to motivate, or it could break you, or I guess it could break some people. But I used it all the time as a positive, and if a door was opened for me because of my name, I made sure that I kept it open by playing the best I could. So it's I wouldn't change anything. On the scale of things, I think I'm very fortunate, not just to have the name, but I grew up in an environment where I was surrounded by world-class euphonium playing, and that was probably far more important than the name.
So what's the topic of your clinic here in Neu-Ulm?
So I'm doing 2 clinics, one which focuses on technique. So that's the nuts and bolts of playing the instrument. How do you play fast? How do you play high? How do you play low? How do you coordinate all those things together so that you have a real solid technique? The other clinic, the second one, is beyond the technique. So we're going to be talking about musicianship, how you shape a phrase, how you play with musicality, with feeling, so that it's not like a computer playing to you, it's like a human being. Because that's a part of playing that I think does get neglected sometimes. Everybody is obsessed with the fast and with the difficult, and they forget the bigger picture, which is how you resonate with an audience, how you move an audience through emotion. So those are the 2 clinics I'll be doing.
So what would you say, how important is technique for a musician? Is it the basis for the musicianship, or?
Yeah, it is. I view it a little like a carpenter, someone that works, the technique are your tools, your saw, your hammer, your screw. You need all the tools, but actually it's the musicianship is the skill. Once you've got the tools, you have to be able to do the job. And that's how I view it. So you need the 2. Without the technique, you have no foundation, you have no tools. But the tools are not enough. You need someone that knows how to work with them.
So the one without the other doesn't work,
in my opinion.
In the program, I read something about intelligent practicing. I don't know if it's the right translation. What does that mean, intelligent practicing?
Intelligent, efficient practicing is basically practicing the things that you're not very good at. Lots of people spend time with the instrument on their face, playing the pieces they already know, making all the mistakes that they're used to making. I guess intelligent practice is being really honest with yourself and saying, this is my weakness, that's what I need to practice. And if you practice in that way, you can cut down the time that you practice, because it becomes a lot more efficient. If you sit in a room for an hour and play random things that with no focus, it's not really an hour's practice, it's just an hour's playing. So I think intelligent practice is a case of being honest with yourself, realizing what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and practicing the things that you're not very good at.
So practicing does not depend on the hours you spend on your instruments, but
I think it's a lot more important how you practice, not the hours you spend. Because you could be practicing something wrong, and all you're doing is endorsing something that you're doing wrong. So with my students, I try to make them think about their own playing, analyse their own playing, and assess what they need to work on a specific day. And as long as they do 30 minutes, 1 hour, concentrated practice on and make something better, then it's been worthwhile. But if you leave a practice room after 1 hour and you don't feel that you've improved anything, then all you've really done is work on your stamina, the muscle.
Okay.
So I think that's where I'm coming from with intelligent practice.
Does this intelligent practicing mean you have to motivate yourself to practice?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think the things you are weak at, you don't want to practice because you are
well,
weak at.
the thing, if you don't sound very good at something, you're not very motivated to keep doing it, because so you kind of ignore that and keep playing the things that you do sound good at. So it is a self-motivation and self-discipline to say, okay, I can't keep ignoring that. I need to do it, and that does take some motivation. But I think anyone that's serious about becoming a better player, a better musician, they have to tackle those things head on, just like you would with anything else. If I want to improve at playing golf, I'm going to have to practice my swing. I'm going to have to practice lots of things that aren't quite as much fun as just going around the golf course. But if I want to get better, then I need to do that.
When was the last time you wished you've chosen a regular job?
I'm not sure I've ever wished I'd chosen a regular job. I feel really lucky to do what I do. I know lots of people would love to do the thing that you love as your job. I guess 6 years ago, my wife and I had our first son, and we've had a second son now, and now I have more responsibility, a family to support. There's times where I wish there was that regularity that a normal job would bring, but for the time being, everything's going pretty well. So I haven't had that wish yet. I'll let you know if I do.
Okay. When was the last time you argued with your father?
Good question. In the summer, we were on holiday in Portugal, playing golf, and I wasn't convinced that he'd had as many shots as he said he'd had. I thought he'd had a few more, and so we had a little argument about that. But regarding music, we never argue. It's something we have in common and we enjoy. But if we do, we're very good friends as well. We get on well. But if we are going to argue, it's usually something insignificant like golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did karaoke?
Oh, the last time I did karaoke, and the only time I think I've done karaoke, was in Japan about 4 years ago. I was on tour out there with a band, playing some solos. It was a band called Desford, a colliery band. And after the concert, we went in Japan. They have these karaoke bars, and everyone was having a go, and I had a go. So that was the last time. Yeah.
Okay. And when was the last time you cleaned your awards?
Cleaned my awards? I've never cleaned my awards.
No.
No. You mean polished trophy?
Yeah.
My trophies are all in a box in the garage at the moment. We had an extension built on the house last year, and so they all got collected up, and I haven't got round to putting them out. Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Pleasure.